Elena's shared, and reflect on that and things that you might like to do in your church and who you want to invite to join talking about the dimensions of belonging. And Elena talked about get to know me, and then we can have a conversation. So ask. If you have an event at your church and you ask people to RSVP or register for the event, include on that form, is there any accommodation or any supports that we need to provide for you to help you fully participate? Just by asking, that opens the conversation for someone to share, as opposed to someone getting there and saying, oh, I can't, I'm in a wheelchair, I have crutches, I can't get into that space. So by asking those questions, you can be warned ahead of time, and they feel free to share in a way that's not threatening. And it builds the relationship just by asking. And engage. I think they've both been given great examples of how you want to engage with people and get to know the person. And partner with them. Like they both mentioned, they've been dealing with themselves. They've been living with themselves for a lifetime. And so they've learned a lot about what's helpful and what's not helpful, and they'll be happy to share and guide you along the way. But get to know the person. As individuals with and without disabilities, develop mutual relationships and see one another as indispensable members, the communities soon become places of belonging. And that's what we want to get to. Eric Carter talks about ministry with, and you're including, and he also talks about ministry with and by. I know a lot of people with disabilities that are ministering and leading groups and serving at the altar, serving in various ways. And think about, in the Anglican Church, there are many ways that we do things non-verbally. So maybe expand your imagination, and that young children that we have that are not verbal yet, or adults that are not verbal and not speaking, then maybe there's ways that they can serve and worship alongside you in a non-verbal way. A lot of times, the smaller church congregations, it's real easy to, well, of course I'm just taking care of this family that has this challenging child. I'm just going to fold them in, and we're going to figure out how to go forward. And so luckily we have a lot of Anglican churches that are small, right? So it just comes naturally. Access is not about, we want to develop a big, huge disability ministry at every church. No, we just want to come alongside you where you are, what you're dealing with. There are people that are doing ministry in your church with special needs children, with other adults and everything in your church. We just want to network. The hard part of ministry is when you feel isolated and alone, and I'm the only one doing this. We want to form a network of other people. When we first started this group, Jessica Jones asked Alec Hawkins, is that right? Alan Hawkins, about, is anybody else doing this across the province? No, he checked. No, nobody's doing it. I knew that there were moms and dads and people out there doing stuff, dealing with the people in their congregation. We want to make a network. They've learned things that they can share with us. We've learned things, so we want to form a network of how we can work together. So think about the people in your congregation that are doing something. It might be a small something. We want to be a network. We want to be a support to help each other along. So two theologians who have done some work on disability ministry are Brian Brock and John Swinton. And so Brian Brock, this is a book that he wrote last year, 2021. It's not a long read. It's accessible. Lay leaders, clergy, anyone can read it. Now, if you want something dense and thick, then go with this one. It would be where I'd read a page and I'd go talk, Bob, help me understand this. I can't follow this. So they've got both. Another one is John Swinton, and this one he just published this year. Another, you see, thin book, very accessible, and he talks about his theology of disability. He was primarily worked with people with intellectual disabilities and with dementia and that kind of thing was his background. He was actually a nurse for many years in that field and then became a theologian. That wasn't his path. And again, he has some other books where he's interviewed and he shares the stories of people with mental illness and things that he goes and helps them to tell their story, to bring their voice. He calls it theological advocacy. You know, I'm not speaking for them, but I have had conversations with them and I want to bring the questions that they ask to the table. So those are good resources. John Swinton, he talks about we often have thin descriptions of people. You know, we don't get beyond saying hello, or we don't get to know what they like and what they want to do. You know, so we've got to develop those thick descriptions, kind of get to know them a little bit more, so then we know how to go forward. Because we are closer to being the body of Christ that God calls us to when we know each other and are working together and serving together.